Okay, first I want to start off by saying that a big mazel tov to Rabbi Avishai Perlstein and his son Moshe David's bar mitzvah. Bar mitzvah will be this Shabbos in Beis Medrash, Kol Gavaya. I thought we were Kol Gavaya, but anyways, Imrei Kayin Beis Elazar. Okay, Kahana. It says Imrei Kayin. Kahana's Shul, at 185 Miller Road. Davening starts at 8:15. Kedusha Rabba L'Gvarim only. Achad Tefillah. Okay. So that's Aleph. Also, on Sunday night, I think Kasira is making chasna. Well, on the invitation it said that he's making it Sunday night. At least the one I got. Unless it's a different Meshach Kasira, I don't know. But okay, so that's current events. And then I wanted to start off with a Maisa. And the Maisa we talk about in Parshas Kisisa a little bit. We talk about Kaifet Nefesh. We talk about Para Aduma, Fam Tokas Adinim, all kinds of good Zachen. So I'm going to first want to say the story. So I shouldn't lose your interest when I say the Bart. Well, I could lose your interest in anyways, but the story at least I'll have you for. The story goes like this. There was a Maisa with the Goin's grandfather. That he was a Yid who lived, it wasn't in Vilna, he lived in some other city, I don't know the name of the city, and he hired a Sarabat Lonim. He had always to be in the Beis Medrash, he paid them well, and he took care of all their needs, whatever they needed. Then it was called a Sarabat Lonim, today it would be called 10 Chashav Younger Light, however you want to call it, but the end result hopefully is the same. I don't know what they learned, but hopefully it's the same. They learned more than one Vlad Azman, maybe. Okay. Okay. Anyways, so he was a rich person, and with part of his money, he held out the Asar Batlanim who were learning. So anyhow, so one day he used to sit there and count his money like every Gvir to make sure. Today, just you look at the balance. Then you had to, take your golden coins and see how many you had and how much to give out. Whatever had to be done. So one time that he was sitting there and he was counting his money, and he had one of the people who was one of the Asar Batlanim. They were all Chashuv Yidden, and was sitting with him while he was counting the money. So he was counting all his gold coins. I don't know how much they were worth then. Today it's about $5,000 an ounce, so a gold coin is a Hein Rav of money. Anyways, as he's counting them, putting them away, he sees that one of them is missing. One of the coins is missing. So of course, he looked all over the place, Inenu. So since the only other person in the room with him was one of these Talmidei Chachamim, so he didn't decide, but it was just automatic that this guy was now chashed of stealing a gold coin from the person who provided him. So of course he confronted him, and he said, and the Yid said, Chas v'shalom, I would never ever do such a thing like that. And so he said, okay, he's not chashed him, but Lamaisa, the shmuel was that he was sitting in the room with the Gvir, and all of a sudden there was money missing, so he was automatically accused. And it went around the whole town, and he was now a mavuzah amongst everybody that he stole, and not only did he steal, but he stole from the person who was giving him anyway. So what do you have to steal for? But anyways, he walked around like a mamash mavuzah, and he didn't want to show up in town. Anyways, came time between Purim and Pesach, and they were cleaning the Gvir's house, and as they were cleaning, they saw stuck in a mirror on the wall was this gold coin, and it turned out that this Gvir himself, when he was counting, he had set one aside for whatever reason, and then he forgot about it, so this guy was a chashed. So he went around, made a big announcement, and he said, you should all know that this guy didn't steal it, I misplaced it, and Lamaisa, he was a chashed, and now he should come out clean. However, everybody assumed that the Gvir was saying it just to make this guy look good, so because they didn't want that he should, have a reputation as a Ganev or a Gazlan. So, but it really wasn't true, and the guy really did steal it, and the Gvir really never found it. So the Gvir decided one day that it's not working because everybody's still chayshid him. So the Gvir goes over to this person, who was one of the Asar Batlanim, and he tells him, listen, it's not working. The only way we can make it work is one way. I have a daughter who's of age to get married, and you have a son. We'll make a shidduch. And everybody knows that I'm not going to do a shidduch with a Ganev or a Gazlan, right? So if we'll do a shidduch, we'll become a chutanim, so then everybody will realize that it was taka mistake, and it'll be machal. So that's taka what they did. And of course, they got married, and the zivug was Ola Yafa, and the couple that got married afterwards had a ben, which was Meir Kala Olam Kulai, and that was the Gaon, Vilna Gaon, who came. Everybody has a story. Obviously, his Sherish Neshama. What does it have to do? I'll compare it a little bit to Purim, as we know that on Purim the Zah was Bidur Mitya, and it had to go from a very, very low place to a high place. So you have to first go down. He had to go B'Shval Matzav, and then he was able to be Merayim himself to have such a yichus of a grandson who was how do I say it? He was the Moshe Rabbeinu of his dar. Easiest way to put it. Okay, that is, I wanted to say over that Maisa because we're talking about Koifei Nefesh. The pasuk starts off, Kisi says, Reish B'nei Yisrael, that's the Koifei Nefesh Hashem. So that's a Koifei Nefesh that a person every once in a while needs as a opinion. Now, I also, as you know, the story of Purim and the Pashas Para are coming together at the same time. So I was thinking, what's the connection between Purim and Para? So obviously, the first thing that those people who've learned the Arizal will say right away that what is Purim is at first Pei Reish, is Pei Reish Dinim, which is gematria of Mansbach, which represents Chamesh Gvuros. Right, the Mansbach has 5. I'm just saying it over, repeating it. The Mansbach has 5 Oisius. That's Chamesh Gvuros. Each one is the end letter of that ois of Mem, Nun, Tzadik, Pei, Chaf. They all have that. That's the Chamesh Gvuros. Is gematria Pei Reish, is Pei Reish Dinim, and you see from the word Purim itself is Pei Reish Dinim, and then it ends off with the Yud Mem, which is Keneged the Chamishim Sharei Bina. But it also Sinachazach, the Arizal says that in that first bracha of Haraves Rivenu Adonis Dinenu Anoikibes NikmasenuAmishalin Gemul L'chol Oivei Nafshenu Hakel Hanifra Mitzarenu. Right? You have 5 news. Right? So it doesn't mean that they were talking in shul. You had to say nu 5 times. But what it means is that Nun Vav, as the Arizal says, Nun Vav times 5 is Pei Reish, that they had to have the Pei Reish Dinim. Now understand also. Okay, but I'm not talking about that now. Right, I'll give you name. Also, yeah, there are a few places mention the same thing, but it's all. But over here, the word of it is that these Chamisha Gvuros that you have were Gvuros in the sense that they were Gvuros to the enemy, which meant that there was a Gvura has 2 taichin. A Gvura is strength. One is a strength to defeat the enemy, right? So for them, it's a din. For us, it's a din. It's like say Yadei Tova Bayam. You see by Pesach, but it's a Gvura for our benefit, right? Like we always say, is a gun a clay din or is it a clay chesed, right? So the answer is, depends what side of the gun you are, right? If the gun's pointing at you and Chas v'Shalom person may get shot, it's a clay din. If you're the guy who's chasing the robber, so then it's a clay chesed. So over here, these gvuras were really a gvuras of chasadim. So that's in the Purim part. In the Para Aduma, right, which is also the Pei Reish, what is the Pei Reish doing? You have a person who's Tamei, which is he has the dinim on him, he became Tamei, right? And now you take those same chamesh kvuris, which is merumas in the hay of the para, and you take the red cow, right? Just like you take dam of a isha and it turns to chalav, and it's like mamtik the din. So too, you take the cow that's all red, and you turn it into efer, and that's like the hamtokas adin. And as we know, efer para aduma was the main gadlus that we had. That's why the Tanoim and Ameroim was so much a higher madrega. It's brought down in a rush. In Chulin, it's brought down in many places. And the reason why there was much higher madrega, because they had left over from the efer para aduma. So they were in such a madrega of Tyra that there was no pchinas nitzotzitz on them, and therefore they were able to be mamish oila legedula to a place that's not shaykh to imagine. So that's where we have the peiresh of Purim and the peiresh of the para aduma, and it doesn't always come out this way, but it comes out that's why you have the kaifen nefesh of the Pashas Kisisa, because really what's Pashas Par is Yovaya Amy Kaneach Tzayis B'na. What's the Tzayis B'na? Is the Egel. Where's the Egel? In Kisisa, which is right after Purim, which is mamish fits in very well with our Pasha. So I'm set over that story with the Goin to show you that every person goes through a madrega of Kaif Nefesh. He has to be Ma'ana himself. I'll say over one other thing from Rashi that is brought down that Rashi went begolus. He put himself in golus. And the reason he put himself in golus is because you see a lot of tzaddikim, you mostly hear stories about the Rebbes who do it. But Rashi was from the Grace of Rebbes, and he did it also. He put himself into golus, but he didn't want anyone to know who he was. Obviously he was the Gadol Hadar, but he didn't want anybody to know. So when he was 33, he went to Golus for 7 years, and he hid himself. So one time he came to a town, and there was somebody in the town who was chayshid who he was, but didn't know for sure. So they decided what they're going to do is they're going to be mechaber him they're going to have a suda, they're going to be mechaber him to bench, and then they'll see the way he says the bracha, and that's how they'll know if he's taka a god like Rashi, or if he's a Pashut Mensch. So they poured him a cup of wine, and he says, don't fill it all the way. So they're all wondering, why shouldn't he finish all the way? So they all said, some Kabbalah, the Keteretz, or whatever, Rashi will come up with something Gavaldik, but all he said was, because he said, I have a new clothing on, and I don't want them to get dirty, so therefore, I don't want you to fill the cup all the way. So, was lenten from them. You see from such a ma'aser that Rashi and Gedolim, they know exactly when they're putting themselves in a zah matzav where they don't want to be recognized, they want to be ba'anova, they're not letting it show out, and they know how to not let it show. But obviously afterwards they all realized that that's who he was, but only that was after he left town, so he shouldn't get the cover. So again, every person needs in his lifetime a kaif nefesh. We have to go, someone like Rashi had to do it to himself. It wouldn't happen because he was always a zeiche. He couldn't have such a place, so he had to go bagalus on his own. But us regular people, we all get our own pekel, whatever it is, and you have to think of it as that like a rubber band. The further down you go, the higher up you could shoot. And on that note, may we all be zeiche to go high without going down.